Hi, I'm Jeannie Lauren Dowden for Conduit News. Today, joining us is Bryan Norris. Many of you know he is running in the Republican primary race to be the next Secretary of State here in Arkansas. Hey, Bryan.
Hey, thanks so much again for having me, Jenny. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Glad that you could join us and talk about your race. I feel as though you don't really need an introduction. A lot of our viewers know you, but just briefly tell us about yourself and your experience and why you're running for Secretary of State.
So, my name is Bryan Norris. I'm a born and raised Arkansan from the Delta, Truman boy. Um, Went into Arkansas State University right after graduating high school. And then that first year, our nation was attacked during 9/11. And then I have a 21-year military history after that. And as soon as I was eligible to retire, I did and came back to the great state of Arkansas, this time a little bit further up in the hills to get away from the mosquitoes. It is what it is. Love the Delta, but I can't deal with the mosquitoes too much. And since coming home, the idea that I had of our nation and the republic and things, the way that they worked from high school civics class, and the rest of that time, I was pretty much out of the nation. Kind of, had the wool pulled off my eyes a little bit and started to see things. I didn't like what I was seeing. One, I felt like that the average Arkansan was just kind of defeated, that they felt like their voice didn't matter, that what they wanted was never going to be reflected anywhere. They didn't trust the election process. They were just kind of fed up. And I hated seeing that. So we got involved, got in the local Republican Party. And then, well, I found out that Republican Party is got its own issues and things to deal with. It's supposed to be the party of small government. It's supposed to be the party of smaller government, all these things. And yet it seems like we've, as a party, has grown the scope of power for for government. And we've really, limited some liberties when it comes to the average Arkansan during this last legislative cycle with SB 207 and through SB 212. But I think 212 was defeated and was not passed. But that took the ability, which was enshrined in our Constitution, to do the petition process. It really limited it, made it almost impossible to do it. And that affected me because I led a petition process in Independence County, in which 63% of the population got to choose how they were going to vote.
I remember that.
Yeah, if you think that people feel like their vote doesn't count, that's your KPI, if they trust the election or not. And we have one of the lowest voter turnouts in the nation and have been for some time. So they say they don't trust it. Well, give them what they want. Give them some confidence and trust back in the process. At least they have ownership of the way that it's going. So we did that here. And then that started off another firestorm. Joint performance review boards, the clerks at Searcy County, the commissioners at Searcy County getting a ban. I got sued all the way to the state Supreme Court where we won. And it just kept coming. And then those bills come out trying to take that process away from us because maybe we were successful and they didn't want to see another county be successful. And with that, coupled with that, and just the abject poverty that you see across the state, is one of the reasons why I wanted to run. Give power back in the hands to the people where it belongs. Find a way as Secretary of State to limit the ability of lobbyists to have influence on our elected officials. And there's many ways that you can cultivate that environment to limit their ability to influence our elected officials and move that influence to the people where it belongs. But when it comes to the elections, well, I don't make law, and I'm going to follow the law. But if counties choose a different way, I'm not going to punish them, like you saw with my opponent's bill of SB 250, where he withheld funding from Searcy County because they went to paper ballots. Right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to support counties in whatever it is that they choose, but it's going to be fair. It will be inspected. It will be audited. You will have standards that have to be met. And if you're not meeting the standards, then we'll have a conversation about it. But the best way to make sure that people are doing the right thing is just like when you was in the Army, when I was in the Army. If I wanted to make sure that a soldier was awake and on guard duty at 2:00 in the morning after he was up doing everything all day, how can you do that? Well, as a leader, the only way you can do it is to show up too and just do a spot check. Leadership is difficult because you have to check on everything that's supposed to be going on. And then when you get done with everything, everybody else's stuff, then you have to do your day job. And
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with that. I'm very comfortable with that. So what we're going to do is every county will receive a visit from the Secretary of State's office continuously. They're going to randomly show out throughout the calendar year, but they will be at every poll location. They will be at every county clerk's office during every primary and during every general election. We will audit. My goal is
Mhm.
to do the first ever 100% county-wide audit of a primary election in the state of Arkansas. We've never audited, to my knowledge, a primary in Arkansas, and we're a solid red state. So,
Really?
to my knowledge,
Okay.
I have not seen one. There may have been one or two, but I've looked and I haven't been able to find one. I'm going to make sure we do that because in a solid red state like Arkansas, the primary is the election for
Yeah.
most races.
Yeah. What did they do? Remember Searcy County? You mentioned Searcy County, how they were punished. Remember, um, they looked into Searcy County, and I want to say I'll have to go back and double check. Did they not audit Searcy County after the paper ballots?
So I think they actually might have for that primary because of the paper ballots.
Yeah.
But was it a full audit? I know they found some during the primary that weren't counted accurately. So I guess you could say yes, there is one. And thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that back to
I
my
just know
attention.
Searcy County had to go through several hoops,
They did,
whenever they
and they didn't get any
yeah.
support from the Secretary of State's office. But again, the only one you're going to audit is the hand counted county, and you're
Mhm.
not going to audit any of the other.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I pulled up, I wanted to talk to you about this. This was in the Dim Gas this week. Um, and Representative David Ray talked about this. He talked about the bill that he filed, the Citizens Only Voting Amendment. And we've seen a few news articles about there being some voter fraud here in Arkansas. But
Mhm.
it's like, no, 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 we have the strongest, securest elections ever. But then these articles keep coming out. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking that's just the tip of the iceberg, really, is what's going on here. But, what do you think whenever you see these articles come out?
Talking points. It's just like
Yeah.
we're number one for affordability. Well, affordable for who? We're number one for food insecurity. So how can you be affordable if your people can't afford the basic necessities of life? Now,
Mhm.
if you live outside the state of Arkansas, where the average median income is 75,000 plus across the nation, where ours is 62,000 annually, then yes, it's affordable here compared to the state in which you're coming from. And for a lot of people, 300 and something thousand that moved to the state of Arkansas last calendar year, it's very affordable to them because they just sold a home in California for a couple million
Yeah.
dollars and bought a mansion here for 600,000. And they got a lot of liquidity left in the bank after that transaction. So it's they're happy days. But what does that do to the native Arkansan? I'll bring it home for you like this. My home was built in 1979 and sold for $83,000. When I purchased it 42 years later, it sold to me for $270,000. That's over a 430% increase. The average wages in Batesville at that time in 1979 was $28,000 to $32,000 annually. Today, it's $35,000 to $40,000 annually. That's a 12 to 18% increase in income versus a 430% increase in the value of your home.
Mhm.
Extrapolate that with an influx of people moving into the state, paying over asking price for a home, that's going to further fluctuate the market because they're not building homes to meet the demand. And as this goes on, the average Arkansan, the native Arkansan, is going to be priced out of their neighborhood where they've got ancestral roots, and they're either going to be forced to move way outside into an area to where they can afford, and even those areas are going to get priced out. And we're going to be looking at a situation where our grandkids are going to be choosing to rent from Vanguard or BlackRock.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess my thoughts were regarding the voter fraud, how, an article came out that a woman was just arrested and sentenced regarding voter fraud. Like, what your thoughts were about that we're seeing, stories come out here and there of finding voter fraud in Arkansas. But yet we still have the most secure elections. What do you think needs to happen to further investigate voter fraud in Arkansas and make it truly one of the safest states?
Virginia, it's just talking points. They're holding
Yeah.
on to that Heritage Foundation article,
Mhm.
ranking them number one. Well, Georgia was ranked number one in 2020. And that
Yeah.
was just a talking point then. And we saw the outcome of that talking point. It was
Mhm.
disastrous, right? And when you see across this state, I think it's been over 1,000 that were registered. One article I read said over 1,000 people were registered fraudulently in the state of Arkansas. One one of the issues this was brought to light when I was out and I was in Sharp County. A guy, active duty military, married a Polish national. They retired, came back to Arkansas. She goes to get her driver's permit license, um, so that she can drive and start doing things here while she's going through the process of naturalization. They registered her to vote at the DMV. She comes home, right? Well, think about it. This is what needs to be fixed. These are the things that they're not thinking through. When
Yeah.
an active duty service member marries a foreign national, she gets an American passport. Back in the day, it used to be red, but they no longer make them red. They make them just like our passports, blue, because they don't want them standing out when they're traveling abroad and being a
Yeah.
target. So they make them blue now. So it looks just like everyone else's. And when you take that information into the DMV and you got a marriage certificate, you've got a
Mhm.
bill showing that you have residency, and then you have this passport showing that you're a citizen that looks just like everyone else's when you're not. Thankfully, her husband caught that and said,
Mhm.
if you had actually went and voted, you would have a felony and then you could never be a citizen. So
Yeah.
there's issues like that. And then there's issues
Yeah.
across the board with people being able to get voter ID. So you got to have checks and balances on it. One, you got to communicate what the standard is out to the DMV and out to these other locations that are bringing in people to the voter rolls. How are you checking? And if they're
Right.
not doing it right, how are you being held accountable? Accountability is the biggest. We've got plenty of laws on the book, but
Yeah.
laws are only as good as they're enforced.
Original. Yeah. Do you remember during the legislative session and you talking about that example made me think of this? And so, if neither one of us can remember, it's fine. But Wayne Long ran a bill regarding this and he wanted something amended on the driver's license. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
And, it was shot down very quickly, unnecessary, that sort of thing. If you're illegal, you can't vote anyway. And since then, I've seen other states or the Trump administration talk about taking similar measures. And it just seems like Arkansas and lawmakers here have such an aversion to, or, just to any type of changes or
Mhm.
additional checks and balances that we can have to make sure things are done correctly.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
I think it's part of the root. They don't want to admit that they've been wrong.
mhm.
I mean, there might be some of that, a little bit of a humility issue, but that's not my problem. I mean,
Yeah,
let's fix the problem, and then we can worry
yeah,
about the egos later. But
yeah.
they exist. There's a lot of problems that exist with our election process across the state. And even according to Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, when she was asked at a press interview in Washington, D.C., concerning paper ballots, she said, we're working on that. So I'm
Mhm.
excited to be the next Secretary of State and work with the governor and help her, come to fruition what she said. I want to help her bring that to reality. She wants
Where
paper ballots.
yeah.
She said
Where
it.
do you think we are? Yeah, where do you think Arkansas is with paper ballots? I think the majority of us who follow along with these issues, we saw that clip. I think it was at CPAC maybe, I'm not sure,
Yeah, I think so.
where she said that. I really haven't seen much work on paper ballots here in Arkansas. If anything, it's the opposite. So, where do you think we are here in Arkansas?
And I'm hoping they're really busy behind the scenes. Not, that's what
Wouldn't that
I
be so
can't
nice?
believe. Well, I can't believe that the governor would toss out something that she's really excited about and proclaiming that she's working on and not be doing it. I mean, surely that's not the case. So whatever it is behind the scenes is happening, I'm ready to pull it out from behind the scenes and help her enact her vision and be in alignment with President Trump.
Yeah, I know. I think, every day you see more people come out and talk about, same day voting in person, paper ballots, and it's like, why would you not? What do you hear from people whenever they say why they wouldn't want that or why that's not a secure way to vote?
It depends on which portion of that concerning machines, but let's say
Yeah.
when it comes to same day voting, the biggest pushback is we will never be able to facilitate that need with the spaces that we have now. We don't have
Mhm.
enough people. We don't have enough spaces. We don't have enough equipment. We don't have. We don't have. We don't have.
Mhm.
Well, how about we list out the requirements of what it would take to get there, come up with a plan to meet that need, and then it's our job at the Secretary of State to ensure that you're provided with the resources necessary to achieve that result. We don't just say that we can't. You know,
Yeah.
we couldn't go into space until we did. We couldn't beat the Nazis until we did. We couldn't build a railroad that went all the way across this nation until we did. If we just sat back and accepted that it's impossible, we would still not have the invention of the wheel. And nothing's impossible. You just got to do the work that it takes to get there. When it
Yeah.
comes to voter ID, last night at Mariana meet and greet, someone asked that question, and they actually made the argument that minorities couldn't afford to get the proper identification to do that. Not that what an insult that is to a large group of people across
I
this
see
state.
that come a lot from the left, though,
It's
and
it's a red herring.
so yeah, it's wild to me. We were talking about this offline, the campaign finance filing website. A lot of people have strong feelings about that website. Tell us your experience in dealing with that, and then what reforms. You are a data guy. What reforms would you like to see made on the financial disclosure filing website?
Yes, it's been a very big pain point for me because I take pride in that, and there's not been a now. I thought December was my first month to where I did not have a single issue. But now, I learned today that what I saw and what popped up is not reflected on the website today. So apparently December also has some issues on it, errors on it as well.
Okay.
What and I sat one-on-one with one of their lead programmers and walked through on how to do everything in the Excel file to be able to import it into the website. So I had 2 hours with them and I went through it all. There's a lot of issues in the way that they formatted the Excel sheet in order to incorporate that data, to bring that data in, and it's not very clean, and that's where you're seeing a lot of the issues because
Okay.
it's too refined on what it's looking for in order to pull that information out. Like if you've got a dash wrong in a header, if you have a space instead of a dash, it won't bring it in at all. And
Oh, wow.
same with every cell down that sheet. It's too narrowly focused on what it's looking for, and it needs to be brought it out a little bit. I understand what that looks like. I know most people probably don't, but I understand what the issue is there. So how do we fix that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that difficult. Honestly, it's not. You just have to broaden the parameters of what the data source in which is being brought in, and then do a reconciliation on it. And one of the best checks that you can do on something like that is when you get emailed that documentation, the Secretary of State's office also has a repository of exactly what was emailed to you with the same date time group stamp on it, and both should match. So when you call up and you have an issue, you can say, well, why didn't you catch this issue when it was sent out initially? Because we're looking at it and it wasn't reflected then. That was the time to call it out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas right now, that's not the case. I don't know what happened from the time that I got my email telling me everything that was in there from December, and then lo and behold, it's not there now.
That's so
It's
interesting.
well, because it's there, it's just got an
Yeah.
error on
It's
it.
just
So it's not
yeah.
being reflected, and so it's not being populated for the public. So if someone knows that they donated to me and then they go in there and look at it and they can't see it, maybe they think that I'm hiding something for some reason.
Yeah.
When I'm not. It was just that row, that cell had something in it that is not being reflected on the front end of the website for you to view it. But the filing shows that I did do it.
Huh.
You kind of see the issue there?
Yeah, I do. And I've seen that as we've gone and looked at other races. And, there have been some candidates where their statement of financial interest isn't even online. And,
Yeah.
You've
The
got to
big problem, Jenny, is they did a major change to their website. This is the first time they've ever done it like this. And they did it just a few months before a lot of us started announcing for the race. You don't do that. I'm a project manager for a very large corporation. What we do in things like that for change management like that is you create a user acceptance testing model that goes for weeks, months, and you have multiple people from every possible venue that would be using that website, and they just start filling in information and data, and you track it all the way through from the point of origin to the point of ending to the point to the front end where everyone can see it at. And you just validate, validate, validate. And you do that over and over until it doesn't fail 20 times in a row. And then you're ready to go real world. But guess what? Even after you go live and you go real world, something can change in the code in that point. I mean, it takes on a life of its own, and you got to manage it and watch it.
Yeah.
And we saw with the special election for Dunn that happened during
I
the
was going to
website
talk
there.
about that. What happened? That was so interesting to me. It did. It crashed. One minute I saw the numbers and they were updating somewhat in real time, and then all of a sudden it was just like out at 0% in. I was like,
Does that
what
give people
happened?
confidence in the election? Does that allow the
No,
conspiracy theories to just go nuts in a highly contested race like that? But
it's
again,
not a good
it's a
look.
it's a brand new service that was implemented recently and did not go through the proper testing. I would never do that. One, we're going to go with what we know that works until we get past this election. And we got 2 years to perfect the new way before the public ever sees it. We're not going to be looking like crazy people. We're not.
It makes me wonder what March 3rd will look like. Of course, we have the runoff for.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I sued the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, is because one of the ways that I can make sure that things are being done appropriately is with exit polling.
Mhm.
But Rasmussen, nobody else wants to come out and do exit polling because they don't want their people potentially going to jail and they don't want to have all these lawsuits. So
Yeah.
I can't do exit polling in order to get a feel of how things are going during the election and be another check, be a transparency check on how things are going. And when your record so far on the only special election that you've run is not great, I don't have much confidence.
Yeah. Something else that the Secretary of State's office does is dealing with businesses and commercial services. Um, this has also at times been a burden for Arkansans and small business owners. So, what are your plans as Secretary of State to make Arkansas more business friendly and kind of ease up with the regulations and the red tape that sometimes, is just overly burdensome for these small business owners?
Well, great question. And it's near and dear to my heart. The Secretary of State needs to be the chief ambassador for business to the nation and to the world and recruit and bring business to the state of Arkansas. But on day one, because I hear it all over the state, Jenny, from small business owners, they say, I can do more. I want to do more, but I don't want to deal with all the craziness that takes to get to that next level. So day one, I'm going to do a Doge style audit of everything under the purview of the Secretary of State's office that deals with business, with one caveat. If it is not codified in law, meaning passed the legislature and signed by the governor, bring it to me. I will vet that with the attorneys at the Secretary of State's office to ensure that it is not codified in law, because I'm going to follow the law. And if it's not, it goes away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to entertain it. I'm not going to put that burden on the Arkansas taxpayer. I'm just not going to do it. For the franchise fees and all the other fees that come along from the Secretary of State's office, I want to do away with them 100%. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to do that, but I'm going to push that envelope as absolutely far as possible, because I don't understand why we place an unnecessary burden on the wealth producers of this state. And it may just be a little bit, a couple $100 a year or something like that to do it. But why? Why do that? Why hinder them so well? Or in any kind of way whatsoever when they're bringing revenue to the state? We're taxing them at every single point of their existence.
Yeah.
Why add another one to it if we don't need to? But also, we want to make sure that new businesses can start quickly. Texas instituted a thing called Fast Pass, where you can get same day business's license for an extra fee. Now, that is something to charge for because you're going to the front of the line and you're pushing hard and you want us to stop stuff and support you. So, yeah, you should pay for that. And that's a choice. You shouldn't, it shouldn't be crazy, but it's a choice to pay that extra fee to get it that day. But I want to institute a Fast Pass and get same day service, next day service. But my target goal is every business filing in the state of Arkansas gets an answer, whether approved or declined, and why you were denied within 72 hours. And that's not unreasonable with the
Yeah. No,
technology and stuff that we have today. It's not.
yeah. That's great. Something that the office also does is you deal with the Capitol grounds and public engagement, that sort of thing. So I feel like I saw you comment about this over Christmas, but I'm not totally sure. Um, what type of improvements, if any, would you want to make to the Capitol grounds and just the overall landscape there at the Capitol?
Yeah, there's a lot that I want to do. I want it to be a destination. I want it to be the envy of the nation, honestly. It's a beautiful capital.
It's so
I've talked
pretty.
this, it is. I talked to some of the previous maintenance guys, met him at a gun show, and he just recently retired. And he was giving me all the background information on all the remodeling that they've done recently, but they still have not done the front or the back side of the Capitol. They never got to it. It has not been fixed. And he said there's some serious issues that's got to be fixed. So I'm going to hone in on that. But the state capitol failed its American Disabilities Act inspection. So things with getting into the bathroom, holding open the door. The doors are so heavy and there's no mechanism to hold the door open for people to get in with wheelchairs and just access throughout the Capitol and the stairs and all
Yeah.
that. It's not maintenance. So we got to fix that. I mean, the government will come down on a business owner and crush them for not being ADA compliant, but yet we're going to allow the state house to be completely out of compliance and just shrug our shoulders and be like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. That's not
Mhm.
acceptable. You got to lead the standard. You have to lead the standard if you're going to enforce the standard. So we're going to make sure we do that. But when it comes to beautification, parking is an eyesore there. It is atrocious.
Yeah.
So I have some grand visions, but it's going to take the legislature, of course, to help me out with that. I want to build those relationships and influence to do it. I don't think that we should be having a two-dimensional solution to a three-dimensional problem, meaning a flat surface parking lot for all of these skyscraper buildings that's around us. There's
Mhm.
way more people coming to that area than that surface level parking could ever fix. I would
Yeah.
like to see a lot of underground parking in and around the Capitol, like you see over at the event space where the Hilton Hotel is, where they have that underground park. Something like that to facilitate. That would also help with security, bringing in legislatures in and out of the building. You can control environment. There's
Yeah.
ancillary benefits to that as well too. But one, it frees up the natural state and its natural environment there, and you can turn that eyesore of a parking lot into a beautiful green space where families can have picnics and you can do outdoor concerts and you can have a mall-like atmosphere like you do in DC to where people can gather and do their protesting
Mhm.
and do whatever and just hang out. It could just be a gathering place in the center of the state of Arkansas, but we also need to stop renting out so many buildings to do government business. The Secretary of State's office has two offices, one in the Capitol and then one down the street in where the TV building is. And that I assume that we're renting because I don't think we own that building. We're always going to be paying that. So why don't
Yeah.
we just build the space or expand the space to put all of government into publicly funded, publicly owned spaces so that we're not renting in perpetuity for space that we're going to be utilizing forever because these offices are not going to go away. We need to get a little bit smarter about it. It might be a larger investment in the front end, but you got to think 20, 30, 40 years down the road and what that's going to do. Look at the beautiful capital that we have and how well it's built.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, look at what the AG's office did. Tim Griffin.
phenomenal.
Didn't they purchase that beautiful space downtown? It's
Yeah.
going to be a really nice
Yeah.
restaurant.
That's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. And that gives pride to the people when they come down and see that. Like this is ours. This belongs
Mhm.
to us. And that's what I want to leave people when they leave the Capitol. I want them to be proud.
Yeah. March 3rd is going to be here so soon. I know that you've been campaigning for a while. How many counties or towns have you visited? Do you know?
Yeah.
Are you just
I got my
like, I'm so tired?
no, I got my metrics up. So I've been to 58 county events throughout the state. And that's like county committees or another county event like a dinner or something at that event. So official events within the county, I'm at 58. I'm at 167 events total. So whether that's a gun show, whether that's a Christmas market, whether that's a meeting, whatever that is, and whatever. I'm over. I'm about 60 something interviews into it. About 35,000 miles traveled. I've just been wearing the pavement out and doing the work
Yeah.
that it takes
What
to
about doors knocked?
quite a few doors knocked. Not as many yet. I'm waiting until next week to where I really start
Okay.
going out and hitting the neighborhoods and knocking. Um, didn't that wasn't in my 10 county plan until next week. So we established a plan a long time ago. It's been working pretty well. We've got our metrics of success that we're going to hit, and hopefully by the time that it's done, I will have knocked on 5,000-6,000 doors.
Yeah, that's
We'll see.
incredible. And the database or whatever you have that you are, building your metrics there, it'll be the rival of, any government run office and be like, how did he do that? How did he build that?
Well,
But let me
necessity is the
show you.
mother of all. Huh?
Yes. Yeah, you can be like, let
Necessity.
me show you as an ex-secretary of state.
I will. I absolutely will. It costs a lot of money to build a website. Companies
Yeah.
charge a lot of money. But we know a guy that's coming in, and maybe we can take some of that price off. And if people want to know what it's going to look like, I've looked at all 50 states. Mississippi actually has the best Secretary of State's website out there that I found so far.
Really?
It is a well functioning user interface website.
Huh.
So if you want to kind of see the direction I'm looking to go to Mississippi. Look at their Secretary of State's website. Look at the way that they've revamped it, how user friendly it is, the form and flow of it. It's phenomenal, and I want to replicate that and make it a little bit better and bring it to the state of Arkansas. I want ours to be number one, obviously,
Yeah.
but and it's not number one just because it's pretty to look at. It's functional. It's
Yeah.
people can go there because the Secretary of State's office is also the chief record keeper of the state. That's
Mm-hmm.
where everybody has to go to find out what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. I
Yeah.
mean, the average Arkansan wants to do the right thing, but if they can't figure out what the right thing is, how can you really hold them accountable?
Yeah. Um, March 3rd, as we mentioned, it's going to be here soon. How can people get in touch with you and your campaign? Tell us your website again, any info that you think that they need to know.
Yeah, my website is bryannorris.org. That's BRYANNORRIS.org. My email is norris for Arkansas at gmail.com. All one word at gmail.com. And I got my mailing address and everything on the website, so you can reach out to me there. If you want to volunteer, you want to come in on the team, you want to support, you want to do any of that, if you're able to do a financial contribution, outstanding. Whatever you can do, we're more than happy to have you on the team. And just know that I'm putting in the work too. I'm not being a slouch about this process. When this thing is said and done, no matter the way it goes, I think I'm going to win. But no matter the way it goes, my goal that I said with my wife, I don't want to lay my head down that night and think that there was something that I could have done that I didn't do.
Hmm.
So that's the way I'm going to leave it all on the field, and we'll let you decide.
Before you go, and we haven't mentioned this, there are 3 of you running in the Republican primary race for Secretary of State, one of those being Senator Kim Hammer. Of course, he's turned out. What sets you apart from those other 2 candidates, just very briefly, and why people should vote for you?
Well, I have a lifetime of servant leadership. When my nation needed me, I went and did the hard task. I went and volunteered for what they were asking for and went and deployed multiple times. I'm not a career politician. I'm not looking for my next seat. I'm not turned out in the House. I'm not turned out in the Senate and trying to find my next political office to occupy. That's not who I am. I believe our founder said it right. You're supposed to be a steward of a seat for a brief moment in time to go down there and elevate the people that you're working for as much as possible, do the best that you can, and then hand it off to the next person to carry that forward. That's the way that I look at it. I don't want to be governor. I don't want to be treasurer. I don't want to be land commissioner. I don't want to be any of those things. When I'm done with Secretary of State, hopefully after 2 terms, I'm changing my phone number and my email address, and I'm going to let y'all figure everything else out because I did my part and I did what the Republic asked us of to do. I served, but and I want to say this to everyone out there. I know most of the people that watch this are conservative leaning our way, the way that I am, Republican. But I'm running to be Secretary of State for all Arkansans. Just like when I was a soldier in the military, when I put my rucksack on and I grabbed my rifle, I wasn't going and doing things just for Republicans or just for Democrats. No, I was doing it for everyone because we're all on the same team. So whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever, I want to see you live a more successful, free life. And I want to help you get there.
All right. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for coming on Conduit again, and good luck with your race. Keep us posted as we get closer to March 3rd.
Jeannie, thank you so much. And thank you for what Conduit does. The press is invaluable when it comes to safeguarding the Republic. And I know you guys have caught significant heat over the years for the things that you do, but just always remember, if everyone likes you, then you're not doing what needs to be done. So take the medicine when it comes. Be proud of what you've done, because I'm proud of what you guys do, and I'm looking forward to moving this state forward and being more transparent, restoring liberty, and lightening the load on the average Arkansan's wallet.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you, Bryan.